Welcome to the Member Showcase. Today I am delighted to be joined by Carson Edwards Jr., a DMI member. Carson is based in Washington, D.C. and has over 25 years of experience in the hospitality sector and is currently Global Sales Account Executive at Marriott International. In his current role, Carson leads and manages an account portfolio of approximately 50 key association accounts that generates 50 million plus in revenue annually across the Marriott's premium, luxury, and select brands. Outside of his busy role at Marriott, Carson also has a number of professional initiatives, including how to incorporate technology best practice within the workplace, encouraging and generating diversity and mental wellness. In fact, you might have seen Carson in our recent roundtable around diversity and inclusion. Carson has a Bachelor and MBA in Business Management and Marketing, and of course is a Power Member and has a CDMP designation as part of the successful completion of the DMI Pro in 2019. Thanks for joining us, Carson.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm going to jump right in and get to a question that I usually ask everyone to open up with. So to kick things off, can you tell us just a little bit about you, your career, and your background in general?
Okay, thanks, Sean. Well, you know my name. I have been in the hospitality industry for a little more than 25 years right now. And right now I'm a global account executive, and my team basically handles the top 1,000 association accounts for the entire company. And in short, it is our responsibility to drive as much market share from those accounts into our hotels, both domestically and abroad. I am also a member of several professional organizations, such as the Professional Convention Management Association and the National Black MBA Association. As you can see from my background, I love music. I also am a huge collector. As you can see, that huge transformer almost is half as tall as I am in the background. And also believe in both health and physical wellness. Been an athlete nearly all of my life, and now as a retired athlete, if you want to call it that, I do believe in working out, whether it's walking around the block or whether it's doing how many push-ups you can do, or whether it's doing an obstacle course. I do encourage physical activity. My collegiate track coach had a very simple saying: the mind leads the behind. So it is a centering force in my life. And I'm also a huge proponent of the digital marketing discipline. It is one of the major reasons why I sought the Digital Marketing Institute to get my certified digital marketing professionals certification. It is an outstanding course. Even though I've taken it nearly 2 years ago, I am still constantly learning in the space. And as we move more and more into the integration of digital marketing in our everyday lives, I just see it becoming an increasingly relevant discipline in the business community.
You've actually led us very nicely into one of the first questions I wanted to ask, because as I said off the top, you partook in the roundtable that we had recently, and one of the things that you spoke about was digital transformation. So what I was going to ask was just during this very unusual last 21 months, I'm losing track now since COVID started to affect how we all do business, but we have a unique situation where digital transformation is moving faster than ever, with everyone at home and so on. But I'd just love to get your perspective on how digital transformations are changing marketing in your sector specifically.
Great question, Sean. And really, prior to COVID, our late CEO, Arnie Sorensen, who unfortunately passed away in February of this year, really was a visionary in the hospitality space as far as understanding the power of the digital medium, as far as reaching out to our customers and providing an expanded relationship and connection and engagement with our customers. And so as we transition into 2021 and we continue to start our journey to our sales recovery, we have what we call our high fives. And part of our high fives are basically our five strategic objectives, or MBOs for throughout the year. And one of the major portion of that is the mobile first mindset. And we truly believe, and the numbers bear this out, 70% of our transactions come through our mobile app. That in order to engage our customers and to really separate ourselves from our competitors in this market space, we have got to understand and leverage our mobile app as the entry point to travel and an overall travel companion for our customers. So, Sean, just think of it this way. When was the last time you actually picked up the phone and called someone to make a reservation?
Oh, we
Yeah,
booked accommodation recently, but it was all online. Yeah, probably on a mobile
absolutely.
device. Yeah.
Absolutely. So basically, your entry to engagement for your experience, because it's not just about a stay, it's about an experience, is via the mobile app. So our mobile apps went through a very large upgrade at the beginning of this year, and we're really seamlessly trying to connect access to your profile, to your loyalty points, not only to the different destinations as far as a hotel that you'd like to travel to, but really giving an expansive immersion knowledge of what that destination has to offer from a culinary standpoint, from activities, whether you're saying that, hey, I've been working my tail off for the last year, I want a great spa treatment, I want a unique site experience, I want to take a tour, whether I want to climb the highest mountain, whether I want to go to the local winery, whether I want to contribute in a community service project. We're really trying to integrate all of those features into our app. And then also, and you hear me say this multiple times today, probably, one of the things we want to do is lead with luxury. If anything, we have learned over the last year and a half, is that travel and ability to travel is essential to who we are as people, across cultures, across ethnicities, across race. We like to travel. We like to explore. It's just something embedded into the human DNA. And so as we leverage that, we want to make sure that our app becomes that platform, that launch pad for your ability to explore, to get out the house, to continue to go to different places, have different experiences. You may want to go to an urban destination, say, hey, I've never played the guitar before in my life. I want to go to the middle of London and I want to learn how to play a guitar and I want to bring those skill sets back with me. You may say that, hey, I've never did rock climbing in my life, but I want to go to Thailand and I want to pick up the hobby of rock climbing. So we want to make sure if that is your destination, we can create that. If we're leading with luxury, we want to make sure that you understand not only do we have a vast portfolio of 33 brands, but we're also leading with our all-inclusive offerings, which is something new for us over the last couple of years as we expand our portfolio in an all-inclusive space. And we're also introducing many of our travelers to what you'll soon hear as our Ritz-Carlton luxury yacht experience, which travels in between the United States, destinations in the Mediterranean, destinations in Europe, and then back again. And so really just taking that need and that desire to travel and that need and that desire to have unique experiences and leveraging it through our mobile app. And hopefully we're opening up a world of travel to new travelers who are just starting their careers and have the wherewithal to travel, and our experienced travelers who have been to a lot of different places but may not have done a lot of different things. So that is part of our, I don't want to say our end game, but our continuing gain in making experiences when it comes to our hotels unique via our mobile app.
You're making me want to book another holiday here. I'm just thinking of
Doing my
taking a trip on a yacht, visiting London. No, that's all brilliant and it's really insightful. Not to switch gears too much, but one of the things I wanted to ask you was actually kind of around soft skills or personal skills, as some people call them a little bit. Because I guess we could talk about technical digital marketing skills a lot, but what do you think are the two kind of soft skills or kind of general kind of professional skills, whether it be like communication and so on, that are needed to work effectively, today in digital marketing or even in your industry?
Great question, Sean. It's kind of like, what are those things that you wish someone told you before you got started? The first thing I would say is you should approach you should understand what your and your team's emotional bank accounts. And to be successful in any industry, especially an industry like ours, you have to have a good team. And to have a good team, you have to have the ability to not only be knowledgeable in your space, but to influence and to help guide and drive decisions. And in that, you have to take some sort of personal investment in understanding each individual's bank account. And when I say that emotional bank account, it's understanding that in order to grow my relationship with you, Sean, I want to understand, what drives you to come to work every day? What's your unique motivating factor? How do I get to know and understand Sean beyond the workspace? And so by doing that, I'm hopefully investing into that emotional bank account, which is yourself. And then at some point throughout my career, there's going to be a need for me to make a withdrawal. We may have a tough assignment. There may be something that you uniquely are positioned to help us to drive a certain business decision. So I would hope that I would be in a position, because I've made that investment into who you are and what you're about, that I can make that frequent withdrawal and deposit into your emotional bank account. So to me, that is critical. It's all about people. It's all about understanding people. It's all about investing in people. It's all about making sure that there is a authentic connection, not just the surface level. Hey, this is the person I work with. I say hello to them. I say goodbye to them. We may share, conversation at the water cooler. But to really say that, hey, you know what? Sean just traveled to Italy. I love Italy. Let's have some conversations about that. How was the food? Where did he go? To really just have that deeper understanding. Also, the second point will be that you have to be agile in your mindset. And when I mean agile in your mindset, the workplace, our society, everything that's going on is changing, from day to day. No 2 weeks are alike, no 2 days are alike, and increasingly no 2 hours are alike. So you have to have that ability to be agile in an ever-changing environment. Being agile that, hey, I may need to learn something new very quickly. Hey, I may need to incorporate individuals and skill sets into my group or my team that I haven't thought of before. But that is the only way, I think, to be successful in the 21st century, is to have that agile mindset and just continue to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Continue to be comfortable with change. I know it sounds cliche-ish, but you have to embrace change. You have to be that eternal learner. You have to be excited about learning something new and adding to your individual toolkit. I've always said that growing up, one of my favorite superheroes was Batman, because there wasn't anything he couldn't pull out of his utility belt to save the day. So you want to look at education like that. How can I add to my utility belt, so when I need to quote unquote save the day, I can pull from that knowledge source and be able to provide value to the folks around me.
It's really interesting advice, and it's really interesting take on it, and it actually touches on something I was going to ask you about, kind of mental wellness and mental well-being. So obviously in the last, again, I keep saying 2021 months, but whenever it really was for anyone watching, when COVID impacted their sector, because different sectors closed down at different times, but all of that had a kind of impact on people's mental health and well-being. And I was just wondering if you have any advice on how companies can better support employees, either of the hospitality industry, but perhaps even any industry, just kind of support them around issues in general relating to mental health.
Again, another great question, Sean. And I'm very fortunate with Marriott. We have a corporate philosophy and basically a cultural philosophy that's centered around priorities called Serve 360. And it touches on personal development, it touches on mental wellness, it touches on physical wellness, it touches on broader education, it touches on community giving. It's a broader strategy that our company is invested in. What I will challenge any company, any organization to have, to understand specifically in the last couple of years, we've all been affected. none of us are the same in 2021. We're not the same individuals we are in 2021 that we were in 2019. And so to understand that and to understand we have asked a lot of anybody who has been fortunate enough to continue to weather the storm as we all focus on recovery within our different business units. So make sure that you have an opportunity for some sort of not only just physical outlet or team building outlet, which is extremely important. So make sure you do have meaningful team building exercises, not team building exercises that help you to check a box from an HR perspective, but meaningful team exercises that hopefully stimulate innovation, stimulates teamwork, stimulates well-being amongst camaraderie within your organizational unit. So I think that is really key, and to create authentic experiences within your organization that allow individuals to express their true selves. So I'll give you an example, Sean. Throughout the pandemic, I picked up several new skills. One of them is woodworking. So just to give you a little background, I'm a guy from the city. I've lived in Washington, D.C., lived in New York City. I lived in Boston, Massachusetts. So woodworking and urban environment doesn't necessarily go hand in hand. But one of the things I did to help enhance my mental wellness, to learn a new skill set, which was woodworking. I found it to be extremely therapeutic. I found it to be a great mechanism to check off that ever-growing honey to-do list, happy wife, happy life. And it also helps stimulate a different way of thinking. So I know it sounds crazy, but when you do something you're not accustomed to, it kind of wakes up a portion of your creative thinking energy, and you start to look at situations, problems, processes in a different way. I just found that helpful. So I was able to kind of take that type of mindset back into my business world. So when I look at a problem, in my mind, I'm going to process it in my normal standard way. But what I've learned to do over the last year and a half is, okay, let me look at this a different way. And how can I approach it differently? And I like that approach because it utilizes one of Covey's habits of highly successful people, which is seek to understand to be understood. So that will be what I would share with some organizations and companies out there.
That's a really interesting take on it. And I think a lot of people are going to find that quite helpful. It's quite relevant to, regardless of what industry you work in. One thing that jumped out to me from I mentioned before, you took part in the roundtable we had previously around diversity and inclusion. But one of the things that you spoke about, which was really interesting, because I don't hear it spoken about a lot or almost by anyone, it was actually around diversity in the workplace, around generational gaps for people of different ages and so on. Could you tell us a little bit about what you think the issues are there and how corporations can maybe do better in this area?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Sean. Yeah, I mean, right now we have probably 4, maybe 5 generations in the workforce, and that's going to create some natural tensions, not necessarily in a bad way, but it's just going to create some natural tension. So traditionally, the largest generational group in the workforce have been the baby boomers. Obviously, this is the generation that came into being after World War II and unprecedented growth, at least in American history at that time. And so traditionally, they have enjoyed a lot of riches and off of that, and they have been involved and are currently still involved in a lot of the decision making historically that you are seeing. Now, I'm a part of Gen X, which is kind of like the smallest current generation that I'm aware of, and we're kind of like the late 30, 40, early 50 somethings, and most of us grew up in the 80s. Hence is why you see Transformers, G.I. Joe albums, just environment we grew up in, and we were that early latchkey generation. And so although we have seen what the advantages are of the great growth in the workplace, because we're so much smaller, we may not have been able to always capitalize on it. But there are a lot of similarities between baby boomers and Gen Xers. We're used to probably working maybe one or two companies within our lifetimes, whereas our parents and their generation, they stay with one company throughout their lives. So now you have the Gen Ys, the millennials, the Gen Zs, whole different mindset. And that mindset is, I want a job that's relevant and core to who I am. I want instant gratification. And, if I want to be CEO, I really want to know how to become CEO. I don't want to wait 10 years to become a CEO. You'd be lucky if I wait 10 months to become a CEO. So those mindsets clash. And I quite often, at least I see in my workplace, Gen Xers are kind of like the referees between those two mindsets. But you have to understand that each of those generations bring a lot to the table. So you look at at least as far as my individual perspective, I look at our boomers are kind of like our guardians of institutional knowledge. These are the folks who have been there, done that, have a lot that they can share. They've experienced a lot. And quite often, they don't mind sharing that information with you. So that's why mentors are important. So you want to make sure that you really gravitate to someone who can benefit you in that way. And most boomers that I've been affiliated with are more than happy to share their experiences to help lift someone up within their careers. Xers, we're kind of like that seasoned veteran where we embrace technology generally a lot more than our boomer counterparts. But we still have some of those boomer mindsets as far as loyalty. And then you have the Gen Y and Gen Zers, where they're also very eager to learn, and they don't mind learning from any of those generations. But what I think, they don't like to be lectured to. So, you just have to seek to understand that they play a very valuable role into our generational workforce. And I'll close up with this, because I was on one of the boards one of the organizations that I'm a part of. We kind of had a situation where we're doing a brainstorming conference call. And one of the things we were focusing on is how to ensure that we invite more younger members into this organization. So everyone was throwing out all these ideas. And one thing you have to remember, and this probably applies to all generations, every organization, every business is in a competition for share of mind. And so you have to understand that we are not the end all and beginning of all of everything. So anytime you want to attract a younger generation, you're fighting for that share of mind. So what's your strategy to win that share of mind? B, there has to be a tangible process to get them engaged into leadership. Like, for instance, they were talking about they want to groom more of the younger members to become leaders. I said, fine. One of the things you need to do is expand the board. 2, you need to get more younger folks involved with decision making in the board, groom them, tutor them, show them a roadmap to becoming a leader within the organization. So it was something that was a little foreign to them. But I think, hey, if you get them engaged, you feel like they have a voice, and I'm speaking about a Gen Y, Gen Xers, in a decision-making process, it should yield tremendous results for organizational growth. It should yield tremendous results for innovation within the organization. And it should yield tremendous results in creating that new pipeline of leadership.
You've definitely touched on this kind of a number of times, or even over the last couple of questions that I've asked, but specifically for kind of more junior members which are watching us or watching this back, could you tell us a little bit about what you think are the most important factors in their career development, kind of just maybe even in a general sense?
Yep. Yes. For our junior members, you've always heard the term find a mentor, find a mentor, find a mentor. Yes, find a mentor. It's extremely important. Here's where I would challenge you. Find a mentor within your given industry, or I should say your present industry, and find a mentor that's not in your present industry, because you're going to need someone to provide you with hopefully that 360 perspective on everything. And sometimes if you only communicate, connect with, associate with, spend time with folks that are kind of in your work bubble, that's the only way you think. And that, to me, that can, over the long term, halt innovation. So you kind of want someone that's really what I call keeping you honest, and someone who can look at a situation totally different, totally from an outsider perspective, and add value to you. So that's one. Two, education is something that never stops. And the beauty of like Digital Marketing Institute and so many other platforms and organizations where education is available to you, never stop learning. I'm very fortunate within Marriott since this is my 23rd year with Marriott. They have always been a proponent of education. There's a litany of different disciplines, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing, um, whether it's cultural diversity, whether it's learning a new language. The company really does have a platform, really believes in it's a philosophy of education, and it's there for us. So you definitely want to have that eternal student mindset. And then secondly, and this was very hard for me, um, be able to tell your own story, promote yourself. It was very hard for me because I grew up in a culture where your actions spoke for you. You know, I ran track. So in running track, your time, your position, you know, coming over the finish line, that spoke for itself. You didn't really have to promote that. If you won the race, everyone saw that. Everyone saw whether in your performance, and they saw it in your time. And that's a philosophy that I took into the workforce. However, that's making an assumption that everyone knows and understands exactly what you do and may or may not have a personal investment to understanding what you do. So tell your story, but tell it in a thoughtful and a meaningful and a relevant way. You know, if you are working on a work group within your organization, you want to be able to tell that story throughout the year to your leadership team, because every one of us are going to have performance reviews. And you want in a performance review for your story to be understood, and you're just enhancing that. You're just really kind of filling in the dots. Hey, Carson, I understood you were on the marketing team that rolled out our new loyalty program. You know, I've heard that it was very successful. You know, what was your role and how did you measure success? You know, you want to be able to tell that story, fill in that gaps, because that's how the new leaders are going to be selected. They're going to look around the room. It's kind of like sitting at the lunch table. Or if you ever play pickup basketball or soccer, you're going to look around that bench and find out who are the top 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 people. You know, if I had a one shot to win the championship that I want on my team, you know, I want to know the person who's the fastest. I want to know the person who can read the field the best. I want to know the person who's defensively solid. I want to know if this goalie can really make 1 or 2 critical saves that will be critical to our team's success. So the work environment is no different. So that's what I would share, those 3 overall principles with our younger professionals.
That's excellent. Sounds like great advice for those that are coming up now through DMI as members, kind of thinking what, you know, where they fit in their organization and so on, and perhaps even don't really have the confidence just yet to kind of be kind of thinking in that way. So that's brilliant. And just to kind of, I'm coming now, I suppose, to my last few questions, but I'm just curious about if you could walk us through a standout moment or a particular time in your career.
Sean, I lost your audio, but I think, can you still hear me? I think you can still hear me. Okay. Okay. I think I got the gist of your question before I lost your audio. And if you could look over my left, probably your right shoulder, you will see a frame that says 42. And that's from the movie 42. And I'll give you probably the briefest version of that. So back in 2013, our then Marriott Rewards program partnered with the movie studio who was producing the movie 42 for promotion to help engage not only all members to our then Marriott Rewards program, which is now our Bonvoy Rewards program, but specifically new travelers and travelers of color. And so it coincided with the movie 42, which was starred by the late great Chadwick Boseman. And so one of my colleagues at corporate said, "Hey, Carson, we have a unique opportunity to have a unique experience with all of our customers throughout the country. And part of that opportunity, while enhancing the awareness of our Marriott Rewards program, is that we executed 6 different screenings in 6 different cities, east to west, all in the same day, technically the same time, but with the uh, differences in the time zone. And we invited our top customers within that given market. So each market probably had easily 50, 60, 70 customers to come to a unique screening for the movie 42 before it really hit the masses. And that was an incredible experience. I had an opportunity to personally, I helped lead the team set up the in city experience for the 42 screenings, but I personally participated in our experience here in Washington, D.C., as well as the Hollywood screening in California, which the actual cast members of the movie were present, and they actually took a local destination that was a parking lot and turned it into a replica of old Ebbets Field. And stars of the movie, Jackie Robinson's wife was also there. And what was really great about that is that we asked everyone, obviously, who are baseball fans, to wear your favorite jerseys. We had individual posters for the event, all kinds of handouts and paraphernalia. And this particular poster that you see in the background was signed by Mr. Marriott, just to thank myself and my colleague who worked through this event. But it was probably one of the most rewarding events, because at that time it took me out of my sales realm and put me more into the marketing realm, and really opened up my eyes to creating unique experiences and engagements via a major Hollywood movie that we partnered with. My clients still talk about it today. When Chadwick Boseman passed away, which was because he and I went to the same university, Howard University. It hit a lot of us hard, and I still actually had posters from that event that I just reached out to my clients on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and say, "Hey, I got these posters. If you're interested in having it as a collectible, let me know." Probably shouldn't have done it that way, because my inbox was crazy for a few days, but the response was overwhelming. The movie is still relevant. The experience they had is 2021. That experience is back in 2013. It's still relevant, and it's the earliest days of what is now currently our Bonvoy rewards program, which is focused on driving unique experiences. So that's probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had, reaching customers in a different way, working with my colleagues throughout our different cities in a very different way, and just really understanding, not only the loyalty our customers have for Marriott, but why. What's that connection? And there's always a story. Mine was talking about 42. I've had customers that have told me I got married in this ballroom. I have customers telling me I got divorced in this ballroom. I have customers tell me I've had kids in this hotel. So there's always something new and unique, and it's all about embracing that unique memory, embracing that unique experience, and being able to draw a long-standing loyalty of a brand that's consistent, of a brand that's proven, and a brand that's always hopefully evolving in the right way. And a lot of that is led by our mobile first mindset.
That's excellent. That's an amazing answer. I've never heard anyone who's been able to bring in Hollywood or Jackie Robinson into their professional accomplishments. So I think you're leading there in terms of most interesting answer. But seriously though, it's a great kind of story, and it's a memorable one. It leads into kind of one of the last questions I have. These two are very similar questions, but what has been the most valuable advice that you've ever been given in your career to date?
Oh gosh, there are two. One was given to me in my professional career, and one was given to me by my collegiate track coach. And I'll cover both quickly. So my collegiate track coach was a military policeman, very tough guy in the sense that he was very big on discipline. And one of the things he would always share with us is proper preparation prevents poor performance. And, in 17, 18 years of age running track, I thought that that was only relevant to athletic performance. I have found that that's relevant in life. And if you're properly prepared, you're going to be able to weather through just about any situations. There's another saying that I know that some of the young people say right now is that, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. That's an old basketball quote. And that's probably the 2021 version of the 5 Ps: proper preparation prevents poor performance. Is that just really hone your craft, really study. And that's what I love about the Digital Marketing Institute. I visit the site frequently. Anytime I feel not only just shortcomings in my knowledge of a certain subject matter, but just as I continue to grow it, I always refer to all of the courses you have there. You have the long courses, you have the express courses, I guess what I call them. And as I'm learning this information, I'm hopefully being able to extrapolate that back into my workplace. So that's what I would say: proper preparation prevents poor performance. The second most valuable philosophy that I've learned, and this is professional, and I was talking to a colleague of mine who was one of the executives that was involved and deeply involved in the acquisition of Starwood into Marriott. And he said to me, Carson, what I have learned in my career is always ask good questions. And not in the sense that you're asking the smartest question in the room, but really to master the art, especially when you're in a room with executives at the table, or if you could be in a room with a new customer, or hey, if I'm a digital marketer and someone's coming to me say, hey, I want a brand new app, I want to build a web page. Okay, what's the next question you're going to ask to help flush out the information that you need? And even if that person can't answer that question on the spot because it requires, some deep insights and reflection, they will recognize that you are an informed person because you're asking the questions that are challenging them, making them think in a positive sense. And so, ask good questions, ask relevant questions. It's not a matter of asking, it's really quality over quantity. It's not a matter of going in somewhere and asking 20 questions that 19 of those you knew could be answered and you should have been able to answer when you walked through the door. But it's maybe about 2 or 3 questions that forces everyone in the room to take a step back and say, I didn't think of that, or wow, that's a pretty good question, or we need to look into that. And so that's the reaction that you want. So I would say those two: perfect preparation prevents poor performance, and learn how to ask good questions will be extremely helpful, whether you just started in a company, whether you're building your company, whether you're a seasoned exec, or whether you're a mentor. I think these are frameworks to help you to be successful.
That's excellent. And regarding questions, I only have one question left. I usually ask everyone. This is a chance to say anything at all, but just finally, as a wrap up, could you tell us just any interesting fact about yourself? Could be anything at all, not necessarily business or career related.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's easy. Look at my wall behind me. Let's
Yeah.
see. If you're looking at my wall behind me, I love music. I also DJ, and I love all genres of music, R&B, hip hop, pop, 80s pop. I just think music, like food, help bridges cultures. No matter where you're from, no matter where you have been, music and food tend to be a passport between cultures. And that's why I'm such a big fan of music. And I can not know a thing about you, Sean. I can mention a song, you say you like it, and it just instantaneously there's a connection that we have that we can build upon. And not to mention, if you can cook, we're going to be really good friends. And so I think that's part of something that the average person doesn't know about me unless they really know me. And then I'm a reader, a collector, and an artist. I love to draw. I don't draw nearly as much as I used to growing up, but my oldest daughter is turning out to be a significantly more proficient artist than I ever was. I love collecting Transformers, G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe. I'm a collector. I love recreating that experience of how it felt when I was a kid growing up. Whereas, okay, Sean, I'm giving away my age here. You used to get the toy catalogs in the mail, and you used to open those bad boys up, Sean, and it was like the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, you would spend hours just looking over the toys that 90% of them I never got, but still, I lived that experience of opening up a toy catalog, or um, that experience as a kid going into Toys R Us. And that's when the toy market was and has never been as robust as it was in late 70s, throughout the 80s, probably early 90s, where you would walk in there and it was just like a store that spoke to that young 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old in a way nobody else could. Just toys galore. Just that experience of being there. Couldn't afford most of the stuff in there, but to say that, hey, I went to Toys R Us and I saw this toy and I saw that toy and I saw that video game system and I saw that video game system. It's just nothing ever replaces that. And then lastly, I love Greek and Roman mythology.
Huh.
When I was a kid, I used to, when I would get in trouble and my mom would put me on punishment, that's how I became a reader, actually. The one thing she would let me do, I couldn't watch TV, couldn't go out and play, couldn't play with my toys. I could read. So I would go to the library and get Greek mythology, Norse mythology, Roman mythology, science fiction. That's why I'm a big Star Wars, Star Trek fan. And I would just read that stuff. So when I got on punishment, I was like, I'm having fun. I'm still doing what I like. My mom didn't know that then. Yeah, those are some of the things about myself. And I always think, and lastly, I would just say that I always would hope that if I'm doing the right things as a human being, not as a professional, not as an associate of Marriott, but as a human being, that when I leave the room, people would say, he's a good guy. I like Carson because he's a good guy. He cares about me sincerely. I always enjoy being in his company. If I'm doing that as a human being, I think I'm doing all the right things.
Yeah, that's excellent. There's a lot in there, including parenting tips that I might steal. I have 2 young daughters. I'm thinking I might need to invest in some Greek mythology, Roman mythology books, and make best use of any punishment time coming their way.
Anime is the key to these young ladies' hearts. These kids are just heavy into anime. So yeah, if I can give any advice in that direction, watch anime, get familiar with it. You won't know all of the different characters. It's too wide, too vast. But even if you just sit there and just watch a movie or two with your girls, I do that with my girls. I take them to anime conventions. They enjoy it. So again, it falls back on that experience. As they get older, they start their families, they have kids, they all remember, dad used to hang out with me and I felt it was cool because my dad was into it, so I'm into it. Now have whatever the unique experience they'll have with their kids.
That's excellent. That kind of wraps everything up for us today, Carson. But I've really enjoyed you going through your experience, going through some advice there, some scenarios, some stories. It's really enlightening stuff. So thank you very much for joining us, and I hope everyone watching this at a later point will really take away from it as well.
Absolutely. Sean, can I say one thing?
Sure.
For those who are watching this video, and if you're on the fence about the Digital Marketing Institute, whether it be cost or whether you feel like, gosh, am I up to this? Am I ready for this? It is one of the best decisions I've ever made as far as self-development. It is one of the best decisions I ever made. I was not a digital marketer before this process. I just knew that there was something about this space that was attracting it to me, and I felt it was definitely worth the personal investment. Which, if you look at it over the strength of the knowledge of what you learn and how you can apply it, whether you want to go into a Fortune 5 company or whether you want to start your own business, I would say to any man, woman, or child that it is worth the investment. And I would highly encourage you. This is not a sales pitch, but just as a person who's always seeking to make himself better and smarter where he can, I would encourage you to really take this journey. It'll be challenging. Yes, it will. There will be some long nights. There will be some sweating. There will be just nervousness you couldn't imagine when you go for your final exam. But there's nothing more important than that feeling of accomplishment once you get that certification. It's something I'm very proud of.
Excellent. Really great feedback to hear as well. It's really excellent, and I really appreciate your time today, Carson.
Absolutely.